Hi, I'm Beth, and I'm glad you could join me for today's gentle practice. So, today's practice is going to be active, mostly on the floor, a little bit standing, and we are going to build up to boat pose or navasana. So, the idea is we're going to do some warm up motions, and we are then going to play with some boat pose variations, finding different ways that you can practice boat pose or finding the boat pose variation that works best for you. So I have a wall here. You will need the wall for today's practice. It might work to be set up against a couch or near that, but ideally a wall for this practice. And it helps us to get into some of the variations of boat pose. We'll also use it for the warm up as well. I also have here a little folded towel. This isn't as necessary, but there's a part of seated warm ups that we do just before boat pose where you might find it helpful to have the towel. It could also be a small pillow or cushion, and I will show you how to use that. Okay, so we are going to start today's practice in an all fours position. And it's fine if your mat, like mine, is not all the way up to the wall. As you get down on all fours or hands and knees, you can face either direction on your mat. I'm going to go this way so you can see me. If you need extra padding under your knees, that's fine. Double over your mat, put something under there, use your little towel, whatever you need. So I'm going to put my hands under my shoulders. My knees are under my hips. And we'll start with some moving of the spine. This is a basic cat-cow. So as we breathe in one direction, we allow the front of the body to sink toward the floor, making sort of hammock shape. You can look forward a little bit as you draw your shoulder blades back and together. That's cow. And then as you either inhale or exhale, arching your back, tucking your tailbone, head comes down, like a big angry cat. And continuing to move slowly between those two shapes a few times, moving with your breath. It doesn't matter so much if you prefer to inhale in cat, exhale cow, or vice versa. The key is simply that you have breath awareness, that you feel the breath move through your body. As you feel your spine move through these simple warm-ups. One or two more times in each direction. And as you're ready, find your way back to center where your back is more flat, although you still have the natural curves of your spine. Look over one shoulder, allow the hip to come a little bit toward that shoulder. So this is a little bit of a side body stretch. You're forming a little bit of a crescent on the side of your body. And then glance over to the other side. And back and forth that way a few times, a lateral stretch. And I have one more time on the last side. For the last direction of the spine, we'll do a little bit of a twist. So take your arm that's closer to me, open it up, twisting your spine, drawing your shoulder blade back, and then allow that arm to go under. We're not coming all the way down, just going the opposite direction. And then open again. We'll do this 3 times total. Weaving under. And one more time. Open. And weaving under. And we'll switch to the second side. Arm away from me raises up as you twist your body in that direction. Weave the hand under, a little bit of a closed twist. Open once more. You really want to feel yourself revolving around your spine, all the muscles in your back. Those are the parts we're warming up. One last time. Open. weave under. Beautiful, open back up. If you need to rest off your hands at any point, go ahead. You can do a few circles with your wrists. You can give them a little stretch because we're going to do a couple more things on our hands and knees. So take your foot closest to me out to the side. Toes can point in any direction, and we're simply going to slide the body forward and back a little bit. So as you do this, you might feel some movement around the hip joint. That's a good place to feel some stretch. Perhaps along the inside of your leg, your adductors. Maybe you feel it in some other places. As long as it's a comfortable stretch, nothing sharp or stinging, it's fine, whatever you're feeling. And then we'll switch to the other side, opposite leg out. It doesn't really matter if your leg's not all the way straight. As long as you're feeling a little bit of movement and stretch, again, kind of a diffuse stretch somewhere. Nothing sharp, nothing stinging. And then bring that leg in. One more thing here on hands and knees. Here's where we'll use the wall for the first time. You might have to adjust how far away you are from the wall. Take one foot back, and I'm going to move a little further away from the wall. Press your foot, your heel along the wall. You might have it in line with your body, and that might be enough to feel it along the back of your leg, your hamstring muscles. Or maybe you can inch your foot a little bit up higher. Again, pushing your heel away, keeping your whole front body active as you do this, engaging your hamstrings, your glutes, breathing, not holding your breath at any time, continuing to breathe. You can let that foot come down. We'll do that on the other side. Press your toes. If you're low, that's fine too. You're just looking for a stretch somewhere on the back side of the body. So move your foot around. Maybe you even need to move it across a little bit, outside a little bit to find the stretch that's best for you. That's really going to depend on how your body is shaped, where you need to move in order to access your stretch. All right, bring that down. And we'll turn ourselves around. We're going to stay on our knees for one more thing, not on our hands, just on our knees. Again, if you need a little cushioning under your knees, that's fine. I'll just show you how that looks. You just take your little towel or blanket or pillow and place it right under your knees. Step the foot that's nearer to me toward the wall, and you can be on your heels with your toes right on the wall if that feels comfortable to you. You want to be close enough so that you can reach the wall. It's fine to lean over a little bit. We're going to straighten this leg, not all the way straight, but so that the hip goes back and stays somewhat in line with the other hip, so that the hip stays kind of hovering over where the opposite knee would be. As you straighten that leg, push toward the wall with your heel or the ball of your foot, whatever on the wall. Use your hands on the wall for support. And if you'd like, you can lean down a little bit. Coming forward may deepen that stretch for you, and if it does, it's fine. There's no need to come all the way down to the floor. That's why we're here at the wall. So only walk your hands toward the wall or down the wall to the extent that you feel a greater stretch in your hamstrings. And you can use one or both hands. Hold a few breaths. So I'm feeling a lot in here right now. Again, as long as it's just kind of that building sensation, doesn't get too intense. Anytime it does get too intense, back off in whatever way you need to by bending your knees, straightening your body back up, whatever works. And then we'll switch to the other side. Take a moment, take a breath, reset your body so you're facing the wall, or get the blanket if you didn't have it. Other foot, toes against the wall. Hips are facing toward the wall. Again, you're searching for where your best stretch is. So maybe your best stretch is sliding your foot across the body a little bit. That actually just brought the stretch out more to my outer hip area. If that's where you need it, fine, work on that. I'm going to lean forward a little bit because I can feel that stretch in a way that's more intense, but it's also still really tolerable for me. And breathe here. We're not using any particular kind of breath, just making sure that we are breathing, that we're being mindful. So checking in with your breath helps to know that you are being mindful in your practice, that you're using mindful awareness. See if I can bend a little bit for one more breath. Okay, exhale. And we'll come to our feet and be with our backs toward the wall. Now, don't worry if some of my head gets cut off in this pose. We're only going to be here for a moment. And in fact, I'm going to be kind of coming forward, so you'll see my head again, I promise. I'm going to stand up. And I'm going to turn around so that really my bottom of my tailbone, between my tailbone and my sits bones, I would say, or right along my sits bones, are at the floor. And my feet are probably about a good 2 feet away. You might not have them that much. You might only have them about a foot away. You can play with this, and you can also play with the distance apart that your feet go. So now I'm probably about 18 inches and a little wider than hip width. What we're going to do is we're going to start hinging right here from the hip crease. Your knees can be softly bent. And again, we're looking for that stretch in the hamstrings by sliding our tailbone up. You can use your hands on your own butt, help yourself up a little bit. And that just helped me lean over a little more, keeping my back elongated. And if you like, and if it adds to your stretch, remember, it's not how it looks. We're practicing functionally. So we're looking for feeling. Functional is what the purpose of the pose is, how it feels. The purpose is stretching the back of the hamstrings, not reaching down to the floor. That just makes my back hurt. So you can keep your hands leaning on your thighs. You can slide them down or maybe even hang if it doesn't hurt your back, and it also stretches more in your hamstrings. So you might go like this. Another few breaths wherever works for you. Remembering that anytime you need to or you want to, you might adjust by coming up a little higher. If I come up here, I'm still feeling a pretty intense stretch in my hamstrings. In fact, I can maybe straighten my legs a little bit more, and that'll change exactly where I feel that stretch in my back body. And then on your next exhale, help yourself all the way up. One more standing pose with the wall. Yeah, I'm resting right against the wall. We'll turn around and face the wall this time. You'll be about arm's width away from the wall. You're going to take one leg and bring it toward the wall. Just like we did in kneeling, you have the option of placing your toes against the wall or placing the ball of your foot on the wall. You can see how both of those feels. It's likely that if you have your foot more flexed with the toes on the wall, you'll not only get a hamstring stretch, but you'll also get it into your calf. So you can choose. Step the back foot back a little if that feels good. And like we did kneeling, fold from the hip. This is a version of pyramid pose. We're staying pretty upright here. Remember that when we were kneeling, I also said you might want to adjust the position of your leg to see how the stretch feels for you. So if I take my leg a little bit across my body, I still feel a hamstring stretch, but it moves it more out to my outer seat, your IT glute area. You might like to have the stretch a little bit more there. If I slide it outside my hip, I actually lose the stretch there, but for you, I get a little bit more on the inside, the adductors. You can see what you like. It's fine to stay and grow quiet in a pose too. Sometimes that is the best way to practice, to just be here, listen to whatever is going on in your body. After one more breath, we'll switch legs. So step the first foot back, second foot forward. Decide whether you want to put your foot flat on the floor or have your toes resting up like mine are. I think I need the little extra calf stretch that this affords. Might adjust how far away the back foot is depending on what you need. And then slide forward any amount. Here's where using the wall is really convenient. And I'm actually at the point of the wall where it meets the doorway, so I can get a little grip here. That's nice too. Remember that you can stay and breathe. keeping your attention focused on the area that we're trying to target, somewhere behind the leg, the outer leg, perhaps the inner if you chose to move your leg a little bit more out, but mostly along the back body. We're looking to stretch those areas that are going to assist us in our boat poses. Okay, one more breath. And then you can help yourself up to standing and then come back down to the floor. So we're going to come to seated parallel to the wall. Here is where you might want to use your towel under blanket. I'm going to turn away just so I can show you. So we'll be seated with our legs out in front of us. When you sit like this in an L shape, if you naturally sort of collapse down so that your back rounds by your tailbone tucking under, and that's actually how I naturally sit. I've just over time of practicing yoga have developed the muscle strength to hold myself more upright. If you find that it's really hard for you to do that and you're curved under, it may also be because your bones aren't giving you that space in here. You're shaped like an L and your bones are maybe hitting. So if we can make it a wider angle here, then your bones will have more room for you to move around in there. And by lifting up the back of the seat, we allow that wider angle. You lift yourself up so you're not at a 90-degree position. So that just means taking your towel and tucking it under the very tip of the back of your seat. And so hopefully you can see how that helped my pelvis tip a little forward. And that means I can be more upright because now my pelvic girdle isn't curling under. Hopefully that made sense. So I'm going to turn around so that my legs are parallel to the wall, and I will use the little bit of a towel underneath. Even though I can hold myself up muscularly, I still like the little help of the towel underneath. So about a bent arm's length away from the wall or so, we'll take the leg further from the wall and slide it in a little bit. Now when you do this, if you don't have to slide it in way up to your body. For a lot of us, if we have any mass in the front of our bodies, this is really uncomfortable. So you pick the place on the floor where it's comfortable for you to slide your foot, and you might even let this hip move a little bit forward with the leg. So the hip closer to the wall, a little back, the hip away a little forward. So we're going to be twisting in the direction of the wall. Take a breath and feel your torso be upright. Hopefully if you're using the cushion or the towel, that's helping you do that. As you exhale, move starting from bottom up, but most of the movement is going to be around this rib cage area, around the spine, toward the wall. You can rest the hands anywhere on the wall to help assist you in this twist. When we were kneeling, we did a little thread the needle twist, and we did that moving. This is a little bit of a held twist. It's actually an open twist because we're twisting away from the body. If we were twisting it in the direction of the bent knee, it would be a closed twist. So it's a little bit of an open twist. Again, those are often more comfortable for a lot of different bodies. As you stay in your twist, another few breaths, feel as if each in-breath maybe helps lift you even taller as you feel the air in through your torso, lifts a little taller. And then as you exhale, see if you have any more room in there to twist a little further. Your hands can gently help with that, maybe guiding you just a little bit more into the twist. One more breath. As you exhale, guide yourself back around toward front. Take the bent knee and simply let it open out. Here, you might already feel plenty of stretch in the hamstring of the straight leg. If so, just stay with that. If you're not really feeling anything, you can lean a little forward, bending a little from the hip. We're not coming into a full forward bend because our goal here is really just to kind of find that in the hamstring. We're not looking for anything in the back, at least in this practice. Just looking in the hamstring. You might have to shift the leg around to get a better stretch. So maybe you take the leg more directly out in front of you. Maybe as you lean forward, you lean a little off to the side. Oh, and for me, I know that's it. That's where I feel the stretch. Maybe for you, you open your leg a little wider and either lean toward the leg or a little lean down the center. So search for a spot where you feel some stretch. And remember, the kind of sensation that we're looking for is sort of just a general diffuse sensation of warming or some kind of noticeable stretch in that area that we're targeting. Yeah, we're not wanting to feel anything sharp. We're definitely not wanting to feel anything around the knees. If you feel anything around the knees, you could bend them more or switch your leg position. So after one more breath, come up if you were leaning down, and we'll flip around to the other side. So my back is going to be toward you, but you already know what we're doing. This way you can see it from a little bit of a different angle. I'm going to turn myself around. I have my blanket just under my sits bones. I'm going to place that there. And you're really not sitting your whole bottom on it. You're sitting so that you're on the very tip of it, so you get that sensation of the pelvic bone moving forward. And I'm going to bend the knee that is away from the wall. I'm going to find the position for my foot. Slide that hip and that pelvic a little bit forward, this one a little bit back, because that's the direction I'm turning in. Take a deep breath in, grow tall. Exhale, turn around my thoracic spine, my rib cage spine toward the wall, placing my hands wherever feel right for me. And continue to breathe. Continue to think about, on the inhales, how can my body grow taller? How can I lift up? Let the air in my body on the in-breath lift me taller. And then on the exhale, explore, is there any more room in there? This is actually the side I don't have as much room to twist to, so there's not really much more room on this side. But I'll still stay with it for one more breath. And then I'll breathe in. And on an exhale, start to unwind from that twist, letting the bent knee fall open. I'm just going to turn a little bit so I'm back toward facing the camera. So this knee falls open. This is our last little hamstring stretch where we find the position for the leg. Remember, I told you for me, it was having the leg a little bit more out front, but when I lean forward, leaning a little over to the side. This actually just gives me a nice stretch in the hamstring, a little bit. I can feel it in both hips, really. Every single body is going to feel stretches in different ways. And that's why it's really important to not concentrate so much on what your practice looks like, but what it feels like in your body. You are the expert of you. I might be the yoga teacher. I can guide you in things. I have no idea how it feels to be in your body. That's your thing. It's a little bit longer. This is our last little hamstring stretch before we start playing with boat pose. All right, breathe in, come up, and you can shake the feet out. You might want to do either a straight leg or bent leg windshield wipers. That's what I was trying to say. And for boat, we're going to turn around and face the wall. And you'll have your knees bent. You can have your toes on the wall or near the wall, where you want to be close enough that your feet do reach the wall. You're sitting right on your sits bones, those little bony protuberances all the way at the bottom of your pelvis. Sometimes they're hard to feel. Go ahead and move any flesh you need to move out of the way so you can get a better sense of sitting right on those sits bones. Hopefully you'll be able to feel them. Squirm around, feel that you're on the sits bones. Allow your back to be tall, and then we lean back a little bit, and you notice I'm holding onto my legs for support. Lean back just enough so now you're moving just behind your sits bones. That's really important for our boat pose. Then take your hands, put them behind you. Your fingertips can face you. They can face out to the side, whatever position of the hands is comfortable for your shoulders. So this is actually our first version of boat. I like to call this grounded boat or boat in dry dock. You can choose. Those are not official yoga names. That's what I call it. Here, focus on not putting so much weight into your hands, but putting the weight into the V at the bottom of your boat. which is your sits bones, or just behind your sits bones. And we can take our grounded boat or our dry dock boat, maybe keep it in dock, but lift the anchor by taking the feet on the wall. And you'll see I slid my bottom a little closer to the wall. I realized I wasn't quite close enough. So feet on the wall. You're in this V shape with this part of your body, where your thighs meet your pelvis, or where your legs plug into your torso. Breathe. This, even though we're supported with our hands and our feet, believe me, it requires a lot of strength. I can feel my parts working. We didn't do a lot of work here for the hip flexors. I can feel the hip flexors working at the front part of the hips. So if this is plenty of work for you, and it may well be, you can stay right here. And this is a wonderful place to practice boat pose. You can build up strength. You can build balance. I'm going to show you a few other variations if you want to play with that. And that's what I call this, playing with boat pose, playing with balance in boat pose. So one thing you can do is use the support of your hands, but rather than have them supported on the floor, take them behind your thighs, continuing to lean back. So I'll tell you what I felt when I did that. You might feel something very different. I felt the stretch move more toward my hip flexors. They are really working a lot now. You can place your hands back at any time. Anytime you need to. Anytime you want to come and rest, come to a seated position. You can lie down. It's your practice. Take a rest if that's what works for you. So from the support of the feet on the wall and the hands on the floor, you also have the option of coming down to forearms. Now that took the work a little bit higher into my abdominal area. Here, though, I have more ease of being able to play with a straight leg version of this lower boat. That probably looks more like a canoe. But again, now my arms are working a lot to hold me up. There's something working. Even though these are variations, we're trying to find a version of the pose that works for you. That doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be some kind of easy version of boat pose. Help yourself up. I'm going to rest here for a second, and then I'll show you a few other variations as we finish out this practice. By no means you have to practice every variation. When I give you variations, they're not levels, they're not hard to easy, they're try this, see how it feels in your body. If you like it, stick with it. All right, I'm going to go to the hands down, feet on the ground. So with the hands down version, we did straight legs on our forearms. We can try straight legs with our hands down. Or you can try one leg straight, one leg bent. And I like to then play around with reaching the opposite arm. So now I get a little more balance by taking one of my arms off the ground. Maybe with this foot on the wall, I can even float that leg away from the wall, though it's a lot more work in the front part of my leg now. And then I'll relax and come down. If you do try one variation on one side, you might want to try it on the other side too. It's not absolutely necessary that we do the same thing on both sides. Our bodies are different, so maybe something is more accessible to you on one side that's not on the other side. That's okay. And then as we finish, I'm just going to show you a couple versions of releasing the hands, releasing the legs, if you want to play with that today or some other day. Starting with, and I build it up from being completely grounded and dry docked to maybe raising my anchor, but still being docked. Still, having the security of the dock there. And then maybe I bend my elbows a little bit more and see if I can, this can be bent or straight. And I actually usually like to have both legs bent because my hip flexors can get overworked, so I like to keep them bent. And either with the feet on the wall or away, again, you can play around with lifting one arm, try the other. Maybe you reach one arm, one leg. Try the other. Sometimes I even like to do a nice little twist in this position. And then last thing, if you feel like you can keep the front body activated just as you did in a twist, you can reach both arms away. And I'm going to keep it right here at the bent leg version. I'm not even going to go to straight legs. This is bringing a lot of balance into it. Again, a lot of tough work for the hip flexors. So much going on in this pose. Whatever pose you've chosen, maybe it's this version. And that lets me hang on to it for 2 more breaths here. And then you exhale. See if you can continue to be in the pose as you come out of the pose. So slowly come out rather than collapsing out. That does take a little bit more work and effort, but it can be a great mindful part of the practice. So that's it for the practice. I am going to suggest that you rest a little bit as you finish, and I'll even show you how to use the wall to do that before we go. So legs up the wall is a wonderful way to rest after any practice or even after just a long day. It's a little tricky to get into, but very doable. You can have something under your hips, a blanket, a cushion, or your bottom. You can be a little bit further away from the wall, especially if your hamstrings are tight. But you see I have one hip toward the wall. I'm going to lean back on my hands just like we did for both. And then the trick is I'm going to move down to my forearms as I swing my legs up. So I'm going to start coming down to my forearms as I turn my legs up to the wall and lift them up. The legs don't have to be straight. In fact, you can do a little bit more of a wall squat like this if that feels nice for you. You can straighten the legs and get some nice hamstring work. You can open them and add in the inner thigh, the adductor work. But just being here with your arms anywhere you'd like, legs up, can be super refreshing and relaxing. I highly recommend it. So if you're here and you want to stay here, go ahead. I'm going to slowly work my way down by bending my knees, rolling to one side, and then using my hands to help me back up. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice. I have other themed practices focused on poses like downward dog and pigeon. I will link to them right up here. I hope you'll join me again. Thanks again and take care.